Story 1. When you have to scroll through the drop-down menu to select your year of birth. You make a plan weeks in advance, and on the day of the plan you want to cancel. Story 2. When young teenagers on a train say, "Look at all these old people." You look around and do not see anyone over 40 in your view. Then you think to yourself, "Oh no, I am the old person." This is a true story that happened to me. Story 3. You will know it when you look in the mirror one day and wonder what happened. It will hit you like a swift kick to the stomach. Story 4. Knee pain. When the cute 20-year-old cashier calls you sir. Loud music at bars is distracting and interferes with conversation. Story 5. For me, it was discovering that kids are buying early 2000s digital cameras because they enjoy the poor image quality as an aesthetic. They call this style the year 2000 aesthetic. I died inside. I am officially old. Story 6. Also, when kids can't believe you were born in the 1900s, full adults now say, "Yeah, I was born in 2003. Story 7. I have not recognized 90% of the Saturday Night Live guest hosts for at least 10 years. It is about 50-50 with the musical guests. Story 8. I am 36 years old. My 18-year-old son has convinced my 4-year-old daughter that I was alive when dinosaurs walked the earth. If he thinks I am old for settling down with a cup of tea and watching soap operas by 7:30, what hope does anyone have? Story 9. The number of scroll turns it takes to find your birth year on a form, plus when a form does age groups that include 65 and over, and no other options. Story 10. You walk into a shop or gym and think, "Damn, they have the music so loud in here." Fun fact, my sister-in-law always complains my music is too loud, and every time I'm like, "You're so old, dude." Story 11. I have been told that I need progressive lenses. I just got new glasses and progressive lenses were very expensive, so I got regular glasses instead. When I picked them up, I had trouble with up-close vision and thought, "What happened with these?" They told me, "Sir, you are in your mid-40s. We have been telling you for 4 years now that you need progressive lenses in your glasses." Story 12. You plan to go to the gym, trip on the invisible stair, pull a muscle in your neck, and share it on Reddit. Story 13. Realizing that staying up past 10 p.m. now requires a week's worth of recovery time is definitely a sign of aging. Story 14. When you finally recognize how many unnecessary things we spend our money on that we do not need, do not work, or even harm us because of clever marketing. Story 15. Just being tired all the time. If I go to the gym, I feel tired. If I sleep a little more, I am still tired. I am in a constant state of tiredness. Story 16. We got our son a trampoline and found out immediately that jumping on it even a little causes us back spasms and knee aches. Story 17. Back, knee, ankle and hand pains, stiffness, soreness, swelling and inflammation, hemorrhoids and wrinkled scrotum. Thinking about how you would like to settle down with someone and grow old together. Thinking about how you would rather not be alone. Story 18. When I realized I was around before the first iPod and YouTube. For guides, we used to buy Prima Game Guide magazines from GameStop and based purchases partly on Game Informer magazine reviews. Story 19. When you catch a glimpse of your face while lying on your back, it looks like you are in a wind tunnel. Story 20. When you go to the grocery store and they are playing the lesser-known songs from your favorite bands from high school. Also, using the phrase lesser-known songs. Story 21. When they ask you if you want the senior discount, why did you ask? Do I look old? Yes, I want the senior discount. Story 22. The signs are demonstrated in the 3 rules for growing older. If it gets hard, use it. Never pass a bathroom without going in first. And never assume it is only a fart. Story 23. I do not get asked for identification anymore at the liquor store. I have Facebook but not Instagram, TikTok, or Snapchat. Apparently, I use the word nor. Story 24. There will come a day when you find your first gray hair. Every day thereafter holds a small, cruel reminder of what once was and what can never be again. Story 25. When you see a generational argument on Twitter and you partly feel offended because you still feel young but mostly agree with the older side. Story 26. One of my college friends had a hysterectomy last week, and another college friend had knee surgery. Story 27. Weekly injuries. I strained my ankle simply washing the cars and mowing the lawn. Then a few days later, I flared up my sciatica by doing a couple of sit-ups. Less flexibility, less mobility, and I heal a lot slower too. Getting old sucks. Story 28. My favorite is the early warning one. You magically start grunting as you stand, usually between 28 and 30, and the rest snowball from there. Story 29. You rave about a new potato peeler you bought. True story. Seriously, it is a really good potato peeler. Edit. I also found myself telling my nephew, when I was your age, he was not interested. Story 30. The sounds you used to make while having sex are now the sounds you make when you get out of the chair. Not my quote, but I can't remember who said that first. Story 31. The music from your youth moves to the classic station. Then it changes to the grocery store background music. I am at that stage now, jamming in the produce section. Story 32. I remember always hearing this and rolling my eyes, but sadly it is true. Hangovers get worse and worse. I cannot imagine what they will be like in another 10 to 15 years. Story 33. You can hurt a body part simply by sleeping. You cannot eat any of the foods you used to eat. Spicy food is out. Dairy products are off limits. What were you even thinking? A combination of the two in some delicious, spicy Indian dish? You moron. Me right now. Story 34. I am turning 68 next month. After more than 20 years as an on-again, off-again endurance running enthusiast, 5 marathons, a number of half marathons and 15 10-kilometer races, I tore my meniscus last May while working in my garage. Story 35. It dawned on me the other day. I live in the Midwest and I am constantly looking for shade. Parking spot shaded. Where to stand? In the shade. Setting up a table or lawn chair shade. I am officially old. Story 36. You experience pain in areas that are not only new to you but also in places you never expected. For me, hip and lower back pain. Story 37. Not being nearly as physically flexible as you used to be, although your mind is still operating at peak performance, perhaps even better because of accumulated wisdom. Story 38. I just tried to pick up some garbage from the floor at home one day, and now my insurance deductible has been exceeded. Story 39. We always called it edging. Now gooning is new. A goon to me is always the enforcer in hockey. Story 40. I fell off my bicycle. Instead of getting right up, I was unconscious until a passerby woke me. 2 computed tomography scans showed a small brain bleed and a concussion. I have not been able to walk for 3 days. Yes, I am old. Story 41. When you see adult content or just a nude woman and think, oh cool, then go back to what you were doing. Story 42. When you start losing a sense of wonder and excitement over the simplest things and pleasures of life. Story 43. When all I see are erectile dysfunction and hair growth supplements, and dating mature women in your neighborhood advertisements, constantly. Story 44. When one of my children taught me how to do something with technology. I am knowledgeable, a dedicated enthusiast, and my 11-year-old son taught me how to use the new car stereo's Bluetooth function. Today, I felt like the inexperienced person. Story 45. When the doctor notes in your chart that you have pregnancy complications due to advanced maternal age. Story 46. Perimenopause. I hit 42 and experienced hot flashes, weight gain, horrible mood swings, and more a joy. Story 47. You hear running water. Roll a natural 4 on a 4-sided die to save versus immediate need to urinate. Your flatulence smells old. Story 48. When you are scared to move because you might have injured something new. I am only 32 and I feel like my body is breaking apart. Story 49. I do not know the slang, who these famous people are, and think all the new music is trash compared to my generation. Other things that come to mind include worrying if my lawn is getting enough water, monitoring my sodium intake, making a noise every time I move, asking myself questions like do I have enough insurance coverage, and having to use navigation applications to places I have been many times. Story 50. When you have to watch what you eat so you do not wake up with indigestion and diarrhea in the middle of the night. Story 51. Children talking loudly in the neighborhood late at night irritates me because I want to sleep at a reasonable hour. Story 52. My knee has been dislocated for about 3 weeks. I am limping. I did not injure myself at all. I work in an office. I am in good shape for 35 years old. All I did wrong was not getting a good night's sleep. Story 53. When you are annoyed at unruly young people in public spaces instead of understanding because you used to be one. Story 54. 1. I do not know when it started, but within the past year, I have started referring to people much younger than me with no respect for anyone or anything as young punks or punks. 2. Birding. Story 55. You think someone born after the 2000s should have children because they are still actual children. No, they are turning 26 very soon. Story 56. You drive to a city you have not been to in a while and start pointing out buildings that used to be fields of XYZ, stores that used to be different places, and the story of the time you and your friends did something really stupid and fun in that area. Story 57. Having to get up to urinate every 2 to 3 hours. I used to be able to go the whole night without needing to. Now it is just an annoyance. Story 58. Stuff you bought for fun is now very expensive. For me, this especially applies to Pokemon cards. I used to buy the Generation 6 EX cards for sometimes just $1, usually ranging from $1 to $5. Now, some of the ones I bought are worth over $50. I am not joking. Story 59. I couldn't care less. I'll clarify. I know I'm old because I couldn't care less. Not about what people think of me, not about how I look, not about achieving professional success, not about missing out. I do my best to live my values, pay my bills on time, and be with people I truly enjoy. I'm quite happy. Story 60. You do not have the same endless energy you had as a child, and you really start to feel drained as you get older. Story 61. Bothered by too much talking, large groups or crowds, children being giggly when it is time to be serious. Story 62. When you realize your body cannot move like it used to. For example, I am 39 now. When I found my old skateboard and tried to ride it, my body said no. Story 63. Toe picked playing hockey. Ended up with a minor concussion and 2 cracked ribs. Had to take a week off from work because of the concussion. My wife said, "That's it. Your hockey days are over because you're not getting paid to get hurt." Story 64. I get confused when I go to pay for things sometimes. I don't always know exactly what the procedure is, where to tap, what to tap, why, and for whom. Story 65. Back pain. I woke up with it this month on my birthday, and it has been about 4 weeks. I feel like I have aged 30 years. This situation is very unpleasant. I was already on Luigi's side, but now I am unsure. Story 66. I was too injured to go golfing. I hurt my shoulder sleeping on it awkwardly and couldn't lift anything heavy for a couple of days. I am getting pretty old, it seems. Story 67. A couple of years ago, I was training a new employee and we got to talking about music. The conversation led to System of a Down. I mentioned that I had seen them on the Pledge of Allegiance tour with Slipknot, Rammstein, and American Head Charge in 2001. She paused, then told me that she could not have seen that concert because she was not born yet. Story 68. Blood pressure, body fat, or similar factors are things that you can manage better by making lifestyle changes. Otherwise, if you keep drinking heavily every day, it may lead to a serious medical event. Story 69. When you see a group of children, what you say to yourself changes from, "What are they doing?" to, "What are they up to?" Story 70. I am 19, turning 20 in 4 months, and I relate to half of these comments. Is the universe telling me something? Story 71. I am only 32. The 21 to 24-year-olds I work with must give me a full week's notice before I go out with them to the bars because I cannot hang like I used to and must mentally prepare. Story 72. You start hating the latest hit songs. You do not know who your children are talking about or who that person mentioned on the radio is. You spend a few minutes in bed before getting up, or you find yourself drinking coffee at 5 p.m. Story 73, one sign that tells you that you are getting. What is the question? Story 74, I keep seeing festival lineups that have no artists who interest me, certainly nowhere near the top. Story 75, I am not even 30 yet, but I am waking up in the middle of the night needing to urinate or experiencing back pain. I am taking that as a sign. Story 76, they are remaking the remake of an original show you watched as a child. Battlestar Galactica, Star Trek. It is becoming strange. Story 77, when you almost urinate on yourself trying to get out of bed in the morning because you are so stiff you can barely move. Story 78, you have worked almost 40 years, and your whole family has passed. I am 51 and have been getting old since 37. It just gets worse. Buckle up, young people, it comes quickly. Story 79, when the grocery stores and gas stations play popular songs from your high school days. As a 2006 graduate, the time is now for me. Story 80, when you listen to those 1990s hit playlists on social media and know more than 80% of the songs, and then listen to current hit playlists and do not know 80% of the songs. Story 81, my sporting heroes are retiring and all the new superstars are younger than I am, much younger than I am. Story 82, I think I look pretty good for 47. No wrinkles. Our local market has senior day on Wednesdays, 5% off. Last week I had a $5 off coupon. I checked the screen to make sure it was applied. Not only did I get the $5 discount, but I also received the 55 and over senior discount. Now I am going to go back every Wednesday, hoping to see the same teenager. Story 83. Probably because I asked for a shower pole with shelves for my birthday, I am excited about getting it. A few months ago, I decided to treat myself by buying a new shower curtain. Story 84. I do not understand the youngest generation. They have many new memes and interests. I just do not have time to learn about these things, and communication with these young people is getting worse because of misunderstandings. Story 85. I have owned my Audi A1 since 2016. It has never been higher or lower, but lately, getting in and out has become an actual inconvenience. I dread the day I am injured and have to use it. Therefore, I am seriously considering getting a sport utility vehicle because it means not falling down into my car. Story 86. Getting old is relative. At 14, I was too old for a kid's swing but too young to drive a car. At 30, I was too old for kids' prices but too young to get senior discounts. At 50, I am the old guy if I hang out with college students, but the kid if I play lawn bowling at a retirement home. Story 87. Preparing for all kinds of weather situations. For example, it is 100 degrees Fahrenheit outside, but you take a jacket to an indoor event just in case it is cold. Story 88. Glasses to read and use your device. 20/20 vision until your 40s. Now in your 50s, it does not get better. 1 times, now 3 times later. Story 89. Needing to consult younger cousins to decipher new memes. I am still lost and confused. I just say, that is tight, and pretend like I know what they mean. Story 90. Coffee becomes a necessity every time you wake up. I would say morning, but shout out to all the night owls who have no reason to be awake before 12 noon. Story 91. You are out of touch with what is considered cool. I am talking about things like music, fashion, and language. Story 92. I cannot eat as much as I used to. Aches and soreness linger longer. More sleep is needed. I become wiser as I go on. Story 93. When you are watching Stepmother Teaches Stepdaughter How to Seduce Boyfriend, and you find yourself more attracted to the mother. Story 94. I am 36 years old and just 2 hours ago I cleaned a window more aggressively, which sprained my back. Now I can barely move. Story 95. Hearing a radio station call the Foo Fighters classic rock. I grew up idolizing Nirvana, and I was 14 when Kurt died. Story 96. What is a sign you are officially getting old? Officially, it is eligibility for your country's pension or retirement benefit. Story 97. Getting into a bed with fresh sheets is 10 times more appealing than going out with friends or having sex. Story 98. When you pass gas while walking without even realizing you had one stored to begin with. It's just a sound. and you wonder, where did that come from? Thanks a bunch for sticking around till the end of the video. Remember to subscribe, and until next time, stay awesome and goodbye.